With regard to the investigation, which doesn't get a lot of attention, into the Clinton Foundation, the DOJ designated John Huber to look into this. They have 6,000 pages of evidence that they've gone through. The foundation raised $2.5 billion, and they're looking into potential improprieties. What's next on this investigation?
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, Q gives us an incredible insight through his latest post about the Clinton connection and more information that you're going to want to stick around to hear. Hi, I'm Craig and welcome to Just Informed Talk. I always start by saying thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and don't forget to hit the like button if you guys like this video. So today we're going to pick up right where we left off. So the last post that we covered was right here. It's Q post 3033, and we're picking up at Q post 3034, and there is certainly a lot to cover. And before we get into that, I always encourage everyone to come back here to the landing page, watch these last few videos. If you want to get caught up on the latest Q posts and what's going on in the world that you should be paying attention to, that's a good place to start. And also, if you're scratching your head going, what is QAnon? You should probably come here and watch this video. It'll give you all the info you need about what QAnon, the Great Awakening is, how to find all that information, and much more. So today, like I said, we're picking up here at Q post 3034, and it starts us off with this tweet, right? And it is of Hannity, and we're going to watch this clip here really quick.
Sarah, we'll start with you because you've been investigating this from day one, is that they don't have anything. And now that we had last Friday the beginning of the release of all the depositions, we also see a lot of criminal activity, especially as it relates to the dossier is at the heart and soul of all of this. And everybody was warned, never verified. Steele hated Trump. Hillary paid for it. The DNC paid for it. The FBI paid for it. The Russian oligarchs paid for it. And Steele doesn't stand by it, so you can't verify it.
Yeah, so think about this, Sean. You just laid it out perfectly. There is absolutely no evidence that we've seen yet. We know Senator Burr's already come out publicly and said if he were to write the report today, he would actually have to write the report stating that there was absolutely no evidence of collusion or conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russia. But what we've seen over the last 2 years with all the investigations being conducted by Congress, the investigations that I've been on, John Solomon, you've been on, everything that we've reported shows a direct line between Russia and the Hillary Clinton campaign. This is what's so incredible. So if anything needs to be investigated, and not only that, we've not only seen that, we also saw extensive abuse and malfeasance in the FBI, what we're seeing with the FISA documentation, and here you have Adam Schiff, who is so desperate that something come out, that he's moving forward with his own investigations with absolutely no criminal evidence of anything. So if anything is going to come out of this, I think right now what we're seeing is that there needs to be a full-fledged investigation by the Department of Justice into what is alleged and believed to be criminal activity.
We learned today,
on Hillary
and I want to get
side.
some analysis from Pam. We learned today that those investigations have been ongoing, and they're happening, and they're real.
That's right.
And there's other things that are about to happen that I know you know.
Other things about to happen that I know you know, quote Sean Raven to Sarah Carter. So the entire conversation is very telling, is what we're told by Methods here at M2 Madness, the one that Q pointed us to look at. And to a great extent, what they've been uncovering, what we've been talking about here on the boards, what everyone has been collectively uncovering is that there is this incredible conspiracy against the president. And it's plain and clear when you start looking at the evidence, and we're going to look at some of that evidence that's coming out. Is just today, one of the representatives has released the transcripts of the closed-door testimony of Lisa Page, which have some incredible stuff you're going to want to stick around to hear about. But that's where we're starting right here is with this. And Q says, do you believe the timing is a coincidence? Stay tuned, Q. And then we go right into the next one here, which actually gives us this layout. And this is kind of a flow chart for the chain of command for the mid-year investigation, which was referring to the Clinton investigation. And this is how it all stacked up. You had Lisa Page working directly for Andrew McCabe, who was working directly for Jim Comey, whose chief of staff, Jim Rubicki, and Jim Baker, were definitely involved. And this is just a lot of the key players that would have had to have known about Crossfire Hurricane. They would have had to have known about Bruce Orr's working with the Fusion GPS to get the Steele dossier information into the FBI, and they would have had to have known things that, like the intelligence that was used to get the FISA, was basically bogus, because they predicated their evidence off of an article that was sourced from the same person who wrote the dossier in the first place. So you weren't getting an independent verification. You were merely getting the same person saying the same thing on two different venues, used as two separate pieces of evidence. So, I mean, that's just one of many aspects to look at it. But then we get this link, of course, back to the Office of Inspector General's report. Now, you guys remember this one from June 2018, and we've pretty much been through this. But this talked about how the way they handled the Hillary Clinton email investigation was terrible, and how there was malfeasance, apparently, and there was there was definitely a lot of mishandling at the minimum. And there have been investigations going on behind the scenes. Like that clip you saw at the beginning of this episode was actually from about 3 months ago, when we had already identified at that point that John Huber was running these investigations behind the scenes. Martha McCallum with Mark Meadows there was basically hitting the nail on the head of something we've known about for a long time now. Q says the Clinton connection, where are they now? Now, don't forget Lisa Barsoomian, who is Rod Rosenstein's wife, who just also happened to be the lawyer for Bill Clinton. And how do I know that? Well, I'm glad you asked. Q's given us these case summaries where it actually tells us that Bill Clinton was being represented by Lisa Barsoomian. Now, if that's not a conflict of interest for the guy who's running all of this, I mean, think about the conflict of interest here. Let me walk through the chain of this, because I'm going to kind of explain this one as I go. Think of this. The Steele dossier has been established was a piece of Clinton paid for Oppo research that was weaponized and used to get FISA warrants to go spy on the president. And they predicated their investigation, the Russia collusion investigation, off of this evidence that was provided, right, by the Clintons to the FBI, right? And then the wife who used to the wife of the guy who was appointing the special counsel, who used to represent Bill Clinton as a lawyer, says it's just obvious. This is crazy. Look, you have Rod Rosenstein's wife. Rod Rosenstein's the guy who appointed the special counsel, Lisa Barsoomian, who was representing Bill Clinton, and the Clintons were the ones that manufactured the dossier. It's just, I don't know. You guys do with that as you may. But there's a conflict of interest at the minimum. I think that's what's being pointed out here. But this Mueller connection to Uranium One in Russia, and then it gives this congressional statement. Now, I believe this is from Louis Gohmert from Congress, the representative, Louis Gohmert. And it's basically this statement where he outlines how incredibly absurd it is that Robert Mueller was appointed to oversee this investigation of the special counsel when he has clear conflicts of interest that tie him directly to both Uranium One and back to the Clintons, and just what you would never in your right mind appoint somebody unless you were literally trying to put somebody in charge who would have a complete conflict of interest, and you're doing it purposefully. But we'll get into Louis Gohmert a little bit later here as well. I think Gohmert. I always say the name wrong. Anyway, it says the Clinton connection pay-for-play spider web Q. So when you start connecting all of these, you start to understand that the web is all of these individuals are connected to one another, and they all have incredible conflicts of interest through these connections, which would make this investigation that's been going on even more absurd when you think about how many people are working it who have complete and total conflicts of interest, going all the way back to the illegal and abuse of the FISA court, in my opinion, the weaponization of FISA to domestically target political adversaries, as was done allegedly under the Obama administration, according to many reports that are coming out here. And we're going to read through transcripts from closed door hearings where Lisa Page says that President Obama wanted to know what they were doing. So you guys can put this together and let me know if you have any other thoughts on it in the comments. If there's anything that was missed, you can certainly go ahead and do that. Now, the next one, Q points us to this Gateway Pundit article, which says that the report says Attorney General Barr gave Mueller permission to indict Trump's 3 adult children and Jared Kushner. So you read through this report, and it just says that author and attorney Sidney Powell spoke about this during her interview on the Mark Levin show on Fox, and it basically says here, quote, the story said members of President Trump's family would be charged, but also noted that it is Department of Justice policy not to indict a sitting president. However, there was no frenzy at the DOJ on Friday, no throng of reporters to make the tourists heading up Pennsylvania Avenue to the White House stop and look. So what happened? Several sources tell Cockburn that the special counsel has indeed completed his report. It is said to recommend indicting 3 of President Trump's children, Don Jr., Ivanka, and Eric, as well as his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. The Attorney General, William Barr, is said to have silently assented to this. It is also claimed that Mueller wants President Trump himself to be indicted. Barr is said to oppose this. The 2 men met on Friday but apparently could not agree, and this was the reason for the delay in any announcement from the DOJ. At least this is what the sources say. And it says, so who are these sources? Joseph Heller mocked Washington's and journalism's culture of sources in his novel, Good as Gold, because it is funny. It says, I believe I got that information about you from a reliable unnamed source. I've been doing a lot of work here as an unnamed source, Gold answered with nervousness and haste, so it may have to come from me, no truth to it at all. Or it may have come from me, no truth to it at all. So it just goes on here to say none of Cockburn's sources was in the room, as they say in Washington, for the alleged discussions. So it's basically, this whole article is laying out that it's all hearsay. That this person heard from somebody else who was there that the 3 children and Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, were going to be indicted. To which Q responds, reread drop. Mueller sealed indictments installed D.C. prior to Rod Rosenstein loss of power. Sealed indictments in D.C. were blockade of the last result installed post Sessions departure and Whitaker assumption. Sealed indictment count D.C. post Sessions departure. Sealed indictment count D.C. pre-Whitaker assumption. Power of Barr. Can a sealed indictment be pulled post filing? So Q, that was a previous post that we got from Q. And the reason it's important to look at that is because Q told us this story was coming. The indictments that were being suggested here through this Q post were these sealed last resort blockade indictments. They're going to go after President Trump's kids, it seems, right? But the question that Q asks here is really interesting. It says, did POTUS, President Trump, just install a rogue attorney general who allows for the indictment of his children based on false pretenses? Barr Senate vote 54-45. Do unicorns exist? Q. So I think that what you could safely say this story is fodder for the mainstream machine to take and use and run endlessly, story after story, because their unnamed source was told by another source who happened to be in the room that Robert Mueller asked Attorney General Barr if he could go after his kids. Now, these indictments could very well exist. I'm not saying that this story is complete fabrication, but I'm just saying that, first of all, as Q points out, do you really think President Trump would allow the Attorney General or appointed Attorney General who he knew was going to allow his children to be indicted on false pretenses? I don't think so. And it says, do unicorns exist? Now, that one's very interesting. There's a few different ways you can take this. First of all, there's a group called the Unicorn Club or something like that, which is all of the companies, corporations that have more than $1 billion in capital. But also people were looking at this pretty interesting. First off, the question itself has an obvious answer. No. So if that answer is no, then that probably means that Q wants us to understand that this is no as well, that President Trump would not allow that to happen. Therefore, it hasn't happened or it won't happen. And not only that, the Barr Senate vote is just meant to point out, as we've been pointing out before, when you have that much opposition to you becoming the Attorney General, that means you're obviously not a part of the real establishment, the deep state establishment that we always talk about. That's why you look at a person like Rod Rosenstein, who was confirmed 94-6 I believe, through the Senate, because they all love their own. Let's put it that way. People who they know they can control and who are in on the whatever this is, this broad and incredible conspiracy against our president being enacted by so many different people. And they call you conspiracy theorists, but there's mountains of evidence about a lot of these things, and a lot of them, these statements aren't just theories. These are facts of evidence of a conspiracy. So you guys can take and do with that as you may. I kind of gave you the simple breakdown of it, and yeah, this was all put into place before Rod Rosenstein lost power. This was their last resort, was to go after President Trump's children. So that to me is what we're looking at. We'll have to see how that story progresses and what comes of it. But this leads us to this, which is incredible. I'm going to let you watch this speech from the Representative Doug Collins. And this is a part of him asking to release and then releasing the actual transcripts from the closed door testimony given by Lisa Page, which have bombshells in them, a lot of which we are going to cover here on the channel. I'll leave a link to this as well, where you can go for yourself to this page. It is Doug Collins' page. You can read the transcribed interview of Lisa Page for day 1 and day 2. And ladies and gentlemen, there is a lot there. But without further ado, I'll give you Senator Collins.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Last week on the floor of this chamber, I released the transcript of the interview of Bruce Ohr from our investigation into apparent wrongdoing at the FBI and DOJ. At that time, I said there would make additional transcripts from the committee investigation public, and I'm here today to keep that promise. As I stated then, our interview transcripts were pertinent to a congressional investigation, but the 115th Congress ended, the investigation was closed, and copies were shared with certain members of Congress. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I request that the link dougcollins.congress.gov/page be placed in the record so the American people can review the transcript of Lisa Page. The American people deserve to know what transpired at the highest echelons of the FBI during the tumultuous time for the Bureau. Out of an abundance of caution, the transcript has a limited number of narrowly tailored redactions related only to confidential sources and methods, non-public information about ongoing investigations, and non-material personal information. I will continue to work to release as many transcripts as possible. The American people deserves transparency, and with that,
he yields. And we got to look at this thing. So first of all, like I said, the link takes you here, and then you basically click on these, and you have hundreds of pages, or 165 pages here, and I think another 100 and something pages on the other one, which basically are the full depth, the full transcript of what happened. Now, there is so much to unpack here. I haven't been able to read all 165 pages in the first day yet, and I'm still working on the second day, so there's a lot to cover here. But a lot of people have already picked up a lot of interesting things out of this. So this is just some of the things that the Anons picked up right off the bat. Here's a conversation between Jim Jordan and Lisa Page, where it talks about presumably her only trip to London. So Mr. Jordan says, all right, I want to ask you a little bit about travel. Did you travel much with your time at the FBI working for Mr. McCabe? Did you travel abroad much? And Page says no. And then Jordan says, did you travel abroad any? And Lisa Page says abroad once. And Representative Jordan says, oh, where to? And it's redacted. We all know London. Jim Jordan. And what were the dates of that travel? Miss Page, that's redacted because we know it was Crossfire Hurricane when they were going to set up the Steele dossier to go start doing their due diligence on intelligence fact finding there. Then and that's I'm guessing, so that might not be what it actually says. Just make that clear. It says Jim Jordan, and was that for official business? Lisa Page says yes, of course it was. So Jim Jordan says, can you tell me what you did in London while you were there in early June, July, August? I don't know. July, it's probably like July of 2016 or 15, 16. Just guessing. And she says, I can't do that, sir. I'm sorry. And Jim Jordan says, pardon? She says, I can't, on advice of FBI counsel, I can't go into that detail. So Jim Jordan says, you went to London in early July of 2016. Did anyone travel with you? Anyone else from the FBI? And it says, yes. She says, yes. Jim Jordan, who? Did Bill Priestap? Bill Priestap did not. It says, and that was Paige. Jordan says, if you can tell me who, want me to guess? And Miss Page says, so I'm trying to count on the right number of people. It's either 4 or 5 others. Oh, just like Q predicted. Huh, isn't that interesting? But all are GS-15s or below. So except for Pete, I'm sorry Pete was there. But, I mean, that's Peter Strzok, obviously. Miss Jordan says, Peter Strzok and then 4 or 5 others? No. Me, Peter, and 3 others. Oh, you mean like the cameras we got, the traffic cam pictures from London where Q tells us that they were real-time photos of you guys there setting up and meeting with Christopher Steele? Yeah. And apparently she can't give those names. And she goes on to say that it's GS-15, which just means basically classified. And it says, is that the only time you travel to London? That is correct. And yeah. So you guys can see all this for yourself. But here's another great example where you have Jim Jordan actually asking her if she was communicating with individuals in the State Department about finalizing certain things. And this is just another telling part, which I think is going to make more sense in the broader context of establishing that there were multiple individuals who are overseeing this from other departments and that they were involved. So there's a lot more there, and I'll leave a link for all of you who want to dig through it and see if you can find more. I know I'll be reading through it. But really, the ultimate takeaway is there's also like an interesting exchange where basically Lisa Page, says that in her text messages, yes, they were referring to the fact that President Obama was to be briefed on what they were doing. So just incredible. Next one. Q saying, decide for yourself, be free from outside opinion, decide for yourself, be objective in your conclusions, decide for yourself, be true in your own beliefs, decide for yourself, be open to following the facts, decide for yourself, be strong in defending your beliefs, decide for yourself, be resistant to blindly accepting factless statements, decide for yourself, be free. Those who attack you, those who mock you, those who cull you, those who control you, those who label you, do they represent you? Or do they represent themselves in some form? Mental enslavement. The Great Awakening, freedom of thought, was designed and created not only as a back channel to the public, away from the long-standing mind control of the corrupt and heavily biased media, to endure future events through transparency and regeneration of individual thought, breaking the chains of groupthink, but more importantly, aid in the construction of a vehicle, a ship, that provides the scattered free thinkers with a starter new social networking platform which allows for freedom of thought, expression, and patriotism or national pride, the feeling of love, devotion, and sense of attachment to a homeland and alliance with other citizens who share the same sentiment. When non-dogmatic information becomes free and transparent, it becomes a threat to those who attempt to control the narrative and or the stable. When you are awake, you stand on the outside of the stable, groupthink collective, and have free thought. Free thought is a philosophical viewpoint which holds that positions regarding truth should be formed on the basis of logic, reason, and empiricism, rather than authority, tradition, revelation, and dogma. When you are awake, you are able to see clearly. The choice is yours, and yours alone. Trust and put faith in yourself. You are not alone, and you are not in the minority. Difficult truths will soon see the light of day. Where we go one, we go all. Q. And the only thing I would add to this is put your faith and your trust in God. That's where you need to put your faith and your trust. And then you can put it in yourself. And just remember, put God first. But, I mean, this is spot on. This is really spot on. And you see what happens. I really think this is kind of like a shout out to what happened to Tucker Carlson. You guys got to... If you guys haven't watched this story, they're going after him. Media Matters, the David Brock, leftist, globalist, organization is going after Tucker Carlson. But luckily, he's not going to bow down to the mob. And he has said that, and I've actually posted this video here, which I talked about before, that you guys should go check out and share if you guys want to see what that whole thing is about. But yeah. This is a part of the Great Awakening. It really is for everyone to think for themselves and to draw your own conclusions and to remember to look at these facts objectively and logically, which is something you don't get from the mainstream media. You really don't get it from any mainstream media opinion people or the people up there who are supposedly giving you the news. It's just a very rare thing these days, and I think it's important that we look at this. Now, the next one here I absolutely think is incredible. This is Jim Jordan and all these tweets that were put out today directed at Adam Schiff. So, and these are all coming out, which are just incredible. It says, first of all, why did Adam Schiff say that his talks with Michael Cohen were limited to inviting him and allaying any concerns about threats to his family, but not mention the 14 hours his staff spent prepping Cohen before the hearing? Jim Jordan saying, why did Adam Schiff, Little Schiff, fail to disclose that he met with Glenn Simpson, whose dossier Oppo research was funded by the Clinton campaign in Aspen, the same Steele dossier that's being used to go after the president today and was in the past? It says, why did Adam Schiff falsely claim in his memo that Bruce Ohr hadn't communicated his relationship with Chris Steele to the FBI prior to the 2016 election? Another great question. And then why did Adam Schiff try to block Congress from learning that the Clinton campaign paid for the dossier? These are all incredibly good questions that I hope we can find an answer to. And this is so funny. Q basically gives us all these campaign slogans, and they all belong to Obama, right? So remember this, that all of this is leading to somebody, and I believe that somebody is our former president, because it would be impossible for President Obama not to have known about what was going on with these FISA warrants, and all of the people, including Lisa Page, is saying in these documents that yes, President Obama wanted updates on what they were doing, and we can establish that they were doing these clandestine operations meant to set up the president with this insurance policy. It's just, you read the transcripts for yourself and make up your own mind. But that is the way I read it. So anyway, the next one here is this Q post where it had the everyone, now that Russia collusion is a proven lie, when do the trials for treason begin? And if you guys remember, this was a retweet from President Trump himself. Okay, and it has everyone in here: Robert Mueller, John Podesta, Obama, Eric Holder, Rod Rosenstein, Hillary Clinton, Abedin, James Clapper, Jim Comey, Loretta Lynch, and Bill Clinton. These people were all involved. And it says, promises made, promises soon to be kept. Has POTUS made a statement assertion that didn't end up being proven correct? Can we believe, or change we can believe in? When they go low, we go high. Let freedom ring. Q. I can't even tell you how awesome that is to hear. Yes, because that's what they say. Oh, well, when they go low, we go high. Well, yeah, like high treason. when they go low, you go high treason, right? That's what that is, right? Anyway, the next one here is Q saying, the unsealing of the first several indictments will bring about unity and change that we can believe in, returning power to the people, returning rule of law to our land. We stand together as patriots. Q. So if you guys remember, I mean, this is all basically pointing directly at Obama. Q's basically cleverly using those words. And then we have a special message from Q Plus, who we have basically identified to be President Trump, giving us this video, which, you know, I think that they really want us to watch this video. Sorry about that. This is the video that will get President Trump elected, and we've put it up to like 2 million views. I remember when I first saw this video here on the channel, I mean, I don't even know what it had. It had like probably like 50,000 maybe. I'm going to guess like 50 or 100,000. Now it's got 2 million views. That shows you just the amount of people who are coming through here. I will definitely leave a link to this. We've watched it so many times. I don't like to play the whole thing because it's kind of a long video and it would just take up a lot of time to play it every time Q posts it. But if you're new to this, watch that video and share it on your social media. And thank you, President Trump. I mean, Q Plus. Excuse me. Thank you, Q Plus. We really are in debt to that kind of the work that's being done on your side. Again, this is incredible. We have this tweet here from this 333 Revolution, and this is Hannity basically saying the same thing that we just saw. You guys can listen to it here.
This to come in a two-tier justice system. That's all about to change. Justice, I can tell you and report from my sources tonight, is on the horizon. Stay tuned with us. One long.
Justice is on the horizon, and I'm looking very much forward to it. Q just says justice. Okay, and then next, finally here is Q pointing us to this older Q post from March 2019, where he posted President Trump's tweet about President Obama tapping the wires at Trump Tower and calling it out for what it was, McCarthyism. And it says, The president of the United States told you who authorized the targeting. Q. This is all going to come back to Obama, I think, because he was the one overseeing this. It was his administration. So there has to be an accountability there. And it's sad, but we have to do the investigation. And if there are people who have been doing these things, then they'll be indicted. And that's what John Huber, I think, has been working on behind the scenes for quite some time. But it says, it gives you this Twitter post where it basically shows us here. So it gives us this post, right? And well, the tweet says this was at Real Donald Trump 3/4/17. So March 4th, 2017. And everyone called him crazy. Below is transcript from Lisa Page at Barack Obama ran a Banana Republic coup attempt, plain and simple. And I feel like this is what is coming forward here. But as we look at this, like I said before, in those transcripts we just looked at, here's President Trump back in March of 2017 saying, they tapped my wires. And here's Mr. Ratcliffe's question where he says, and at one point you text him, yes, because POTUS wants to know everything we are doing. And Miss Page says, oh yeah, I know what that is. So she's acknowledging that through the course of what she was doing with this FISA and everything, they were going after the president and President Obama, or she doesn't acknowledge that they were going after the president. She acknowledges that she was communicating the progress of her investigation to the president of the United States. Thereby, we can establish that he knew. So there goes that plausible deniability. Do you believe in coincidences? Let me know down in the comments. I'd really love to hear what you guys have to say about that. I want to say thank you guys for watching. Stick around for 1 minute. A few ways you can help the channel. First of all, click the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. And there's a thumbs up button at the bottom of the video. Go like that if you guys like the content you just saw here. Make sure you watch these videos, share them on your social media, and also don't forget to leave your thoughts, theories, and insights down in the comments. Few other ways you guys can help out the channel are over here. Patreon, a crowdfunding website. There'll be a link down in the description. It's a monthly donation. You come here to this landing page, click this button to become a patron, set it and forget it, and know you're helping keep this content coming because YouTube is doing their best to keep this content from growing, and the best way to grow and expand is to have everyone contribute. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate your help in the face of this adversity. You guys are really what keep this channel alive and going. Without you, I really couldn't do this. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you guys want to make a one-time donation, I have a GoFundMe. Both the links will be down in the description. You should check it out. Also, come find me on Twitter, man. I love having conversations with you guys on Twitter. So come over here and find me. And I love sharing all the tweets and doing all this stuff. So if you guys want to find me, you can come find me over here on Twitter at JustInformU. That is the Twitter handle, at JustInform, the letter U. And don't forget to come check out JustInformNews.com, the official website for Just Inform Talk, where you get all these links to the Q stuff, you get links to different news websites, and you get these links to breaking news articles, and you get all the videos from the YouTube channel here. So you should go check that out. Now, before we go, I want to say we do a little segment here at the end called God's Grace is Greater. It's where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater, because I think in all of the darkness that is in the world, that the light of Christ is really what we should be looking toward, and God, and that's where we should have our gaze set. So for this, we're going to read out of Romans chapter 11, verse 33 through 36, and it's just a little prayer about praising God and the incredible awesomeness of God. So let's just read it. It says, "Oh, the depth of the riches, both of the wisdom and the knowledge of God. How unsearchable his judgments and untraceable his ways. For who has known the mind of the Lord, or who has been his counselor, or who has ever first given to him and has to be repaid? For from him and through him and to him are all things. To him be the glory forever. Amen." So, look, just remember that everything we have in this world comes through our Lord and Savior, through God. And we have to remember that in all things, God is present. And that means that we're called to live a life of humble servitude to our Lord and Savior and make sure that we put God first in everything. As it says, to him be the glory forever. So take that message, share it with your friends and your family, and reach out into your community and spread that light of the Lord and Savior. Because the only thing I want is in some way to help light a fire in your heart so that you can grow that fire through strong faith and devotion, and then you can spread that light into the world for others to see, to know that they're saved, to know that the glory of God is for everyone. So, and that the depth of the riches of the wisdom and knowledge of God are endless. So that's really where I want to leave it. I want to say thank you guys for joining me here today. I want you guys to come here and click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, make sure you hit that big thumbs up at the bottom if you guys like this content. I really appreciate that. That helps out. But that's going to be it for me. I want to say thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.